Hey everyone, this is Buffy coming live to bring you more content on the chakras as part of Edge Yoga School's 300-hour teacher trainer program. So if you missed the other videos, I've already gone through the first 3 chakras, and I did a little intro video to all of them and what you're going to be learning here. So I'm using Anahata Judith's book, Wheels of Life. It's a huge reference book, and I've been reading through one chapter at a time and just going through and highlighting and picking the parts that I think are important and enlightening. And obviously everyone's going to pick up different things as they learn about different systems and things in yoga, and so that's part of the beauty of this program, is that we're all learning from each other and in different ways and adding and layering onto our knowledge. So let's jump right in. Today we're going to learn about chakra number 4, which is love. Love, air, breath, balance is huge here. Relationship, which is really what love's all about. Affinity, unity, and healing. And, you know, as I'm going through these, really the most in-depth I ever have, I've been generally familiar with the chakras throughout my yoga experience and journey, but, you know, just briefly introduced to them in my 200-hour program. And this, bringing this content to you has been so helpful for me too. So thank you for learning with me. And every time I bring a new video to you, I'm like, okay, this is my favorite one. But, it just keeps changing because they're all so cool and, as I've mentioned before, so interrelated. So yeah, this chapter 5, is all on chakra 4, which is love. And just like the other chapters, there is an opening meditation. It's pretty good. I'm not going to read it this time. I do encourage you to purchase this book if you're interested in learning more and going deeper into the chakras. We're going to jump right into the symbolism and correspondence here. So the Sanskrit name is Anahata, and that means unstruck. The location is in the heart, and the element here is air. So we've gone from earth to water to fire and now to air. We're going to talk a lot about how those 4 elements work together. The function is love. The inner state, when you're in harmony and your chakra is aligned, is compassion and love. Other body parts that are affected: the lungs, the heart, the pericardium, arms, and your hands. They shoot directly out of the heart. The seed sound is lam. The vowel sound is a, as in play. And the corresponding verb is I love. I love. So the heart of the system. So now we've ignited our fire of will and taking control of our life by passing through that 3rd chakra. We've burned through some of our stubborn blocks, and we can now allow our fires to subside a bit. As they turn to warm embers, we turn towards our center, warmed, cleansed, and ready to embrace the next level of awareness. I love that. The central part of the chakra system is the heart. So we're at the central point here. We're halfway through, and the heart's really the center of the body. In our language, the heart refers to the center of things. If you think about it, people say, like, let's go to the heart of the matter, like, let's get to the point, the center. It's your spiritual center, it's our core, and it unifies forces from both above and below. Chakra 4 is integrating and balancing various parts of our being. So it's a lot about balance, about wholeness, and within the sense of wholeness lies the seeds for inner peace. So when you think about where peace, the feeling of peace in your body comes from, at least for me, I like to locate emotions, and at least for me, that sensation of peace really does emanate from the heart. The heart chakra is just the center of love. And it is to be noted that this level of love is different than that more sexual, passionate love from the 2nd chakra. In the 4th chakra, love is not really dependent on outside stimulation, but we experience it within a state of being. So the 2nd chakra, the love can change with passion, and whereas love from the heart is more enduring and in its quality, and it's more eternal and constant. So it's kind of a deeper version of love. Here is a graphic for you. Right here's the heart chakra. Okay, so this is interesting. These graphics make me laugh sometimes. Here's another one. And you'll notice, so we talk a lot about spirals and yoga and with the chakras. This is the eye of the storm. See how the heart chakra is the very center of the spiral. So it goes out and out and out and in and in and in. And the heart really is the center of peace. Anahata means sound that is made without any two things striking. Interesting. Unstruck, unhurt, fresh, and clean. When the chakra is free of grief from old hurts, its opening is innocent, fresh, and radiant. Doesn't that sound nice? And the fight of the third chakra is replaced by acceptance in the fourth. So the fight that you felt from that third, the fire chakra, is now more acceptance and loving and kind. So if the third chakra has done its job, our circumstances are going to be easier to accept. So it does kind of build on each other. You know, we say one is not better than the other, but it is important to start at the foundation and work through any blockages in each one. So the element here is air, as I mentioned, and air is the least dense of the elements that we've discussed so far. So air is expansive, it's spirited. You think about freedom, you think about birds flying and openness, fresh air, like when you open windows in your room. This lightness and simplicity and softness is just what the heart chakra is all about. I mean, even if you say, like, I need some room to breathe, you know, you're talking about like clearing space for peace. I mean, unless you physically needed room to breathe. So yeah, air represents breath is what I'm getting at. And breathing is that vital process that keeps us alive. It's called prana. Hindus call it prana, and it's vital energy in our body. So if we want to influence our body, we can do that with the breath. We talk about that a lot in yoga. I mentioned that as I'm leading vinyasa flows. So yes, the fourth chakra here is representative of air and breath. And if you, yes, okay, excuse me. So balance, we're balancing between the body and mind, the inner and outer realms, self and others, giving and receiving. So opening your heart, it really requires rising above your ego, transcendence of your ego. And when we can control the breath with breathing exercises, which I'll talk about later, it's a really good tool for both physical and mental transformation. So we'll end with some breathing exercises that are recommended here. We're going to jump deeper into love now. Love is the attraction exercised on each unit of consciousness by the center of the universe in its course of taking shape. So love is such an intense word in our language. I mean, it means so many different things. It's like, what is it really? It's kind of this thing you can't really touch. You just kind of walk around it. Can't really explain it fully. It's more of a feeling, right? Love, like power, is something that we all want and we all need. Few ever feel that they have enough love, and many live in fear of it. And, you know, almost nobody understands it completely. Yet we all search for it, and it's like, what is this mysterious force? And she goes on to describe it as, what I really like is a unifying force. It brings things together, and it, you know, love brings us all in connection. It can bring you into a relationship with something bigger than you, and it allows us change and freedom, but keeps coherence at the center. With love, we tend to gravitate towards people with whom we feel safe and appreciated. I find that very true. And then I thought this was interesting to point out that a lot of people who seek like money or fame or admiration, acknowledgement, they're just actually looking to receive love. And when you acknowledge that, oh, why am I, evaluating your actions? Why am I seeking to be acknowledged? Why am I seeking affirmation? When you acknowledge and see that, you kind of step outside of it, out of all the doing, and you go straight to realizing that you can kind of bypass some of the less functional ways that you are behaving, in order to find love. So it's kind of evaluating that. That being said, love and approval are really basic needs that we have. They're important for our personal growth, and they will help us with self-acceptance. And, that's huge in learning to love yourself. So, which I have been learning the past few years in my 30s. So, she touches on jealousy and mentions that jealousy really does reduce the flow of love. It like restricts it and narrows it. It's like, it only means you love me if you're in these parameters. But alternatively, if we see love as infinite and we approach it from a point of abundance instead of scarcity, we see that the truth about love is that it's self-perpetuating, meaning it keeps giving back, and it keeps, however much you put in is how much you get out, kind of. This concept is like, it's really hard to put into words. She does it beautifully. So, all right. So opening the heart chakra is going to expand your horizons for sharing loving energy with others. So the heart chakra perceives the world in unity and not separation. So really think about that. It's more about bringing together rather than separating. Rejection. So we talked about jealousy. Rejection is a huge human fear. It's very common. And when we feel that kind of non-love, that rejected feeling against ourselves, we might start to self-destruct and kind of internalize it and take it personal. And sometimes that makes it easier for people to live without love, and they actually stop seeking it rather than continuing to look for it. And then they end up just separate and isolated. They don't want to risk opening, sharing, and potentially failing. It's kind of a protective device. So when we go into that, it can really cause alienation between our bodies and our minds. And we might start to feel depleted and like we've walled ourselves into a world all alone, kind of like your own island, which I feel like is really common, especially in our culture. It's kind of the independence and the I don't need help from anybody kind of mentality. I mean, I say that, but I know that there are a lot of good people I'm here in the United States, and this part bothers me. Sorry. My children play in my hammock all the time and break everything. So yeah, learning to love also takes a lot of energy. If you've ever been in a long-term relationship or been around someone who you don't necessarily hit it off with right off the bat, but you have to be around them, it takes a lot of energy. The heart chakra is a yin chakra, and sometimes that energy is more passive and you can't really control or manipulate it. You just kind of have to let things be the way they are. All right, so love is not really like a matter of getting connected with somebody. It's the realization that we all are connected, and just opening your eyes to that web, that intricate web of relationships that goes throughout life. There are no boundaries. I start this part because I really love that. It's so beautiful. We're all made of the same essence, riding through time on the same planet, faced with the same problems and the same hopes and fears. Doesn't that just unify your thought right now? I mean, just thinking about that. We're all in this together kind of thing. We're all connected. And that's what love does. It brings people together. When we lose our sense of connection with all of life, we've lost the sacred, and you can feel that. You might be really attuned to your moods, or when you have an up day or a down day, and ask yourself, like, do I feel connected? And if, most of the time for me, that's what the problem is I feel alone or isolated, and I just have to like sit and meditate, or practice yoga and meditate, and then I suddenly come back into this awareness that like, oh, I'm just one part of this, and we're all one part of this, and we're all working together, basically. We are love. I love that. Okay, moving into relationship and balance. So chakra 1 is more about material objects that are separate and distinct and solid. You remember the earth chakra, the root. Chakra 2, we started to look at how things move and change, the water chakra, and how forces act on things when they're moved. And then at 3, we looked at reorganizing and combustion and release of energy and power. So all of these cycles can only continue when they're in a certain relationship, which is where the heart chakra comes in. I told you all about relationship. I think that's awesome. So they're all like building on each other, and also like, well, we'll get into that when I talk about breath. Love for the body motivates us to take care of our physical needs. In a family, love keeps its members together so they can conduct the business of life and raise their children. For a group, love of a common cause keeps its members relating so they can accomplish their tasks. And love of learning makes us buy books or go to school. It's the love that keeps us in relationship. It keeps you going, keeps you trying. And there's a paradox in love. So we fall in love and then we're lifted by the experience. Love binds together without limiting. There's a closeness and a distance, and it's all about balance. So here we are getting into balance. And then she goes on to kind of break down like all information could be seen as relationship. Patterns give us concepts to form like the basic structure of our thoughts and our communication, our perception. They are the foundation of who we are. It's all relationship, which started to kind of blow my mind. I'm like, whoa. So the 4th chakra level of consciousness perceives the world as an intricate web of relationships bound together by the force of love. So then we find ourselves like just one element that's woven into this greater pattern, and everybody has a place in it. It's really beautiful. When we understand the perfection of the relationship around us, it beckons the heart to open. Do you feel that? Balance within ourselves gives us the best shot at balance in our relationship with others. So it always starts inside, right? So yeah, she talks about how some relationships that don't always work out are more transitory, and they're more like stepping stones in the swirling creation of a larger pattern. So imbalances in your heart chakra can really throw off your entire balance. And when you kind of give up on, let me get my thoughts together. So yeah, when you're trying to love, you really have to come over your ego and your sense of separateness, because it's almost like you have to give up some of your individuality in order to feel this greater unity, if that makes sense. So it's almost like dying to yourself a bit in order to feel more. It's like a trusting process. So yeah, which I feel a lot with my children. You certainly have to give up a lot of your goals or dreams when you have kids, and I think that what you do get in return is just really a deep bond and connection with them that's, you can't compare it to anything else. In the words of D.H. Lawrence, if one yields oneself up to the other entirely, there is a guttering mess. You have to balance love and individuality and actually sacrifice a portion of each. So yes, that is so important to balance, because you can get lost in love. And even, again, as a mother, you can just always be meeting their needs. And it's so important to go back and take some self-care and step out of it, take some time away, come on one of my retreats, or take yourself a little personal retreat, just go on a hike or whatever you love, and then come back to it, you know, refreshed. And that can apply to any relationship. You really do need space and balance. Living in balance is living in a state of grace, of delicacy, of gentleness. Love is that which endures, and likewise, what is done with love will endure. So think about your motives as you're doing different tasks. If any small thing done with love, it matters. I've heard a quote like that before, and it's so true. So the heart chakra really needs to be balanced between input and output. So just like our breath equalizes with inhale and exhale, we also have to replenish our energy in order to keep on giving, you know, back to taking a retreat or whatever you need to do to regroup and relax. A lot of people do lose their alignment. It's easy to do if you get like too passionate about something or too excited, and then you lose your ground, and you know, then your energy's gone and you just kind of fizzle out. Constant overdrawing of your bank account or of your energy can really deplete you until you can't give anything at all. This is very dangerous, and it's such an easy thing for me to do because I'm excited about life and I want to do everything and I want to know everybody, and I have to, you know, I want to learn everything. I have to really slow down sometimes and check in with myself and make sure that I come back to stillness and back to peace and just depositing, you know, taking care of myself in order to give, because otherwise you're going to backlash. So Anahata, because it's a yin chakra, one of the challenges is to allow letting to replace doing or making. So only then can we truly perceive the pattern for what it is. I've mentioned this in a previous video. I think it was the one I offered about hosting retreats, but just how when you let go of control and you align yourself with divine energy, whatever that means for you, it's amazing how much easier things fall into place, and you can let go of so much striving and worry, or, you know, there's a lot that goes into that. And I've learned so much through that process about just letting go and being used as more of a vessel of light and love rather than forcing. I like this part. She kind of talks about how love is like the appreciation that we're all little lumps in the same earthly soup, which is just a little lump in a larger cosmic soup. So love is an awareness of this beautiful, like, energetic relationship and a natural appreciation of the situation that we're in. It's not a question of invention, but rather discovery. So like I said, you don't force it. You just kind of realize that we're all connected. You've probably heard God is love. I had extensive training in theology in my younger years, and you know, we were taught at one time, so God is love, God is now, you know, God is everywhere. And when you are in the present moment, you do feel that peace and that love, and you do, you know, that's the only place where it all is, where life is, love. So affinity is the attraction of opposites seeking to balance themselves. This was kind of a newer thing to me. Affinity is kind of like used in chemistry to describe the tendency of one substance to enter into and remain in combination with another. I did not take chemistry in high school. I opted for another science. So some people will even use the word chemistry, like I don't have chemistry with them or whatever. That's what they're talking about. So somebody who shares your views and also can give you that that feeling of affinity or chemistry, the peaceful sense of validation that comes from that, somebody who understands you. I started this next part. The most important aspect of affinity lies not in our chemical attraction to others, but in the development of affinity within the composite parts of the self. So it's more about alignment and connection within yourself, inner peace that's going to emanate from you, a vibration that's loving and accepting and joyful. And this allows and even encourages other people to find their own sense of affinity within. You know, people can pick up on your energy and your vibe. And when you are like hating on yourself or just, you know, not in alignment, not balanced, people can feel that, and it's not helpful. You know, that's what you're spreading. But when you feel self-love and acceptance, it's easier for other people around you to feel that. Self-acceptance is our first chance to practice unconditional love. I love that. It really is. You have to accept something before you can feel gratitude, before you can truly love it. And this happens in our heart, and it becomes easier to accept others when that happens, their faults and everything, because everybody has faults. And when you see your own faults and you accept and acknowledge them, you're more easily able to, you know, accept and acknowledge the faults in your loved ones or in people around you. That's the unconditional love of the heart chakra. We radiate love because we've created a coherent center within ourselves, which in tune harmonizes the surrounding circumstances. Yes. How do you create a sense of affinity within? Take some quiet time and talk to yourself. Get to know yourself. Say hello to your body. I encourage my students to do this at the beginning of practice. We do a body scan and we check in with our body. Let your body speak to you. Listen to the sensations being sent to your brain. Are there ways that you could treat yourself better? Are there parts that need attention, parts that dominate unnecessarily? Are you treating yourself well as you treat others? Is it time that you threw a party to show your appreciation? Or do you need to just sit and listen for a while? We have so many different composite parts of ourselves, and it takes a lot of work. Again, love is work. It takes work to keep them in union. Moving on to healing, we've got the cross of the heart chakra. So you see a cross is formed here, and it goes right into the center of the heart. This is the integrator chakra. Love is the ultimate healing force. The body forms a cross right at the heart, and these channels of energy moving out from the heart and towards the hand, she calls them healing channels by which healing energy leaves the body. So we heal with our hands. If you think about when your child or someone has a fever, you go and you put your hand, you know, you comfort with your hands. We use our hands to create. It's where our power comes out. The hands both create and receive, and our sensory organs pulling in as much information as the eyes and the ears. Our skin is our sense, and we're taking in and giving. Healing is the restoration balance to an organism or situation. It is believed that all disease, whether caused by germ, injury, or stress, is the result of imbalance. And then that then fragments the organism and destroys its natural resonant affinity. And this is where Ayurveda approaches wellness from. They teach that we are whole and that we can heal and come into balance. So opening the heart, developing compassion, connection, and understanding for those around you will naturally give rise to the urge to heal those around you, to heal yourself. It's natural to straighten a picture on a wall, or to want to. Like if you see a crooked picture, you're going to want to go over and fix it. Same thing here. If you feel compassion for others and love for them, you're going to want to help them. A true healer must tune into her subject, remaining grounded in her own energy, so important, and allowing the subject to create their own sense of balance. The healer is merely a catalyst in the subject's own healing experience. When our heart chakras are open and balanced, our very presence radiates love and joy. This is the essence of true healing. Again, bringing up retreats. So similar thing here, like even in a yoga class when you're teaching, you can't force people to take anything away. You can't force them to have an aha moment or their life to change. All you're doing is providing that kind of healing experience all of the elements that are kind of necessary for that. So you're kind of prompting them towards healing, but you can't heal someone. They have to heal themselves, just like, you know, your body has to heal itself. Someone can't force you to heal. They can bandage you and they can clean your wound, but your body's going to do it. Same thing, speaking of spiritual or emotional aspects. Okay, getting into breath, the heart of life. We breathe 1,800 or 18,000 to 20,000 breaths a day. It's an average of 5,000 gallons of air. And I always have to take a deep breath when I start to talk about breath. Take a deep breath. It's like 35 times more than we eat, drink, and you know, you can go days or weeks without food, days without water, but for breath, only a few minutes. So it shows you how important and essential breath is for us. Breath is related to the element of air, obviously, and it's one of the primary keys to opening the heart chakra. Okay, here we go. If you have some blocks, we're going to start talking about the breath. So unlike food that has to be digested, air goes straight into the bloodstream, like straight into the lungs and then out, and oxygenates our blood. So take another deep breath. So we can work with our breath. We've got this powerful tool of transformation. We can release toxins, release stored emotions, change our body structure and our consciousness just with our breath. Without it, we couldn't speak. Air is the force behind our voice. It's so awesome. Air and breath are life-giving, healing, and purifying energy. So fear, anxiety, depression, smoking, or just polluted air can lead to breath deprivation, which sounds so restricted and terrible. It can slow down your metabolism and lower your physical energy levels. It can promote the buildup of toxins, and then those contribute to like a self-perpetuating cycle. So, and I thought it was interesting. 1/4 of the oxygen that we consume is used by the brain, even though it's only 1/50th of our whole body mass. So, 1/4 of our breath goes to our brain. So when we inhale deep, the brain gets washed. It gets so much nutrients from the air. Think of the air as like food that we're eating, and all these different elements that compose our air are so vital for us, and it's like enriching to take a deep breath. We can combat fear by forcibly deepening our breath, easing tension in our body. She talks about how restricting the breath was kind of a early human kind of survival instinct. You know, if you were hiding from a predator, you would try to be quiet and hold your breath. Hindus believe that breath is a gateway between the mind and the body. That brings up pranayama, just breath work. So then she goes on to offer some really awesome breathing exercises. I tried quite a few. I've tried several of these. There's just deep breathing, breath of fire, alternate nostril breathing, and then the bandhas, which means locks. I really enjoy the alternate nostril breathing. She claims that it brings profound changes in consciousness. Okay, chakra exercises, chakra 4 exercises. Chest opener, so just interlacing those hands behind the back. You could take a forward fold. You could hold this in crescent lunge, and warrior 1, you could take a humble warrior. Cobra also opens the heart. Fish pose. Arm circles, opening up the arms, like we said. And opening up the hands. She goes on to offer some meditations. One of them's really beautiful. It's called Kalpataru. It's the wishing tree. She offers an appreciation ritual for a group, an empathy exercise, which I really like, and then a compassion meditation. I'm going to share more about mindful self-compassion in future videos, likely after we get through all the chakras. This was chakra 4 on love, and I really enjoyed learning with you on this chakra. Next, we'll get into chakra 5, sound. So tune in and learn with me. Then we've got 6, which is light, and 7 is thought. And then we'll all be enlightened. No, think it takes a bit more work than just reading a book. I've already given so much info and just ways to break through any blockages in the chakras. So I hope that this is helpful for you personally, as well as in sharing with your students. And I hope you enjoy your day. Namaste.